Harriet and William had shared a life of simplicity and love for over 50 years. Now in their 70s, both retired from decades of hard work, they enjoyed a tranquil phase of life in a small, cozy home, humble yet filled with the warmth of countless shared memories. Despite their modest finances, mutual dedication and devotion were the pillars of their happiness. The house they lived in was simple but inviting, every corner echoing the stories of the many years they had spent together. A small garden out back was Harriet's pride. She spent her mornings tending to her plants while William watched the scenery from a well-worn rocking chair, lost in his thoughts and recollections. Their daily routine revolved around unhurried pleasures: breakfast together in the kitchen, discussing the day ahead, short walks around the neighborhood, visits to a local market for fresh produce, afternoons spent reading or listening to the radio. Their love was evident in small daily gestures. William, ever mindful of Harriet's needs, would surprise her by making her favorite tea or fixing a broken piece of furniture. Harriet, for her part, cared for William with gentle dedication, ensuring his comfort and happiness. Their conversations brimmed with memories and simple plans for the future, testaments to a deep, enduring affection. Even with life's contentment, the couple had their share of challenges. They had no children to lean on in trying times, relying instead on neighbors and friends, mostly in their own age group, who faced the trials of their golden years with dignity and courage. Through it all, Harriet and William found strength in faith and hope. Their nightly prayers, said side by side, were moments of reflection and gratitude, and they believed that as long as they were together, they could weather any storm life might bring. That peaceful routine was thrown into upheaval when William started experiencing episodes of dizziness and nausea. Initially, they dismissed the symptoms as age-related or some passing ailment, but as time went by, his condition worsened, becoming impossible to overlook. One afternoon, Harriet was caring for her plants in the garden when she heard a noise from inside the house. Rushing in, she found William collapsed on the living room floor, struggling to stand. "William, what happened?" Harriet cried as she helped him up. I just felt dizzy all of a sudden," he mumbled, trying to brush it off. Tears welled in her eyes as she eased him onto the couch, realizing they could no longer postpone medical attention. Lacking private insurance and knowing they would have to depend on the public healthcare system did not dissuade Harriet's resolve to get William the help he needed. The next morning, they arrived at the public hospital before sunrise in hopes of avoiding long lines. Even so, they were greeted by many people already waiting. The sun had yet to rise, promising a drawn-out and anxiety-ridden wait. The hours crawled by, and Harriet's worries mounted. When at last they were seen, the doctor ordered a battery of tests to figure out why William was so ill. After agonizing days of waiting on results and more hospital visits, the diagnosis came. William had a tumor requiring urgent surgery, followed by chemotherapy. The couple received the news with heavy hearts. Harriet's world seemed to unravel at the doctor's words. "We can't lose hope, Harriet," William said, attempting to stay strong despite the devastating diagnosis. "But how will we pay for all this, William?" "We don't have the money," she replied, voice quivering with concern. Their financial constraints and the lack of private insurance made the cost of treatment seem insurmountable. The fact that they had no children to help, emotionally or financially, only added to the weight on their shoulders. Still, in the ensuing days, Harriet and William clung to hope, looking for every possible avenue of assistance. The discovery of William's illness and the uncertainty of how they would cover treatment cast a dark cloud over their otherwise humble, love-filled life. Each day now brought a blend of fear, love, and the unwavering determination to face this crisis together. Caught between overwhelming emotions and difficult decisions, Harriet found herself at a crossroads. The cost of surgery and subsequent treatments was astronomical for a couple living on meager retirement checks. The wait list for free care was painfully long, a harsh reality that made them doubt whether William could get help in time. Desperation and determination driving her, Harriet explored every option. One afternoon, as William rested, she sat at the kitchen table with pen and paper, listing ideas and possible solutions. "Maybe we can sell something," William offered weakly, sensing Harriet's struggle to find a way forward. "What, my love? Our most prized possessions are our memories, and you can't sell those," Harriet replied, tears brimming in her eyes. I know. I hate feeling so helpless, William admitted, voice trembling. Harriet stood, walked over to him, and gently held his hand. We'll figure something out. We always have, she told him, though deep down, she felt the same weight of uncertainty. In the days that followed, Harriet knocked on the doors of countless charities and foundations seeking financial assistance for William's care, yet every attempt ended with a polite refusal, be it from lack of funds or bureaucratic obstacles. One night, while William slept, Harriet sat in the living room under the warm glow of a lamp, her gaze landing on an old guitar leaning in a corner, one of the few sentimental items they still possessed. William used to play gentle tunes on it in the evening, filling the house with music. An idea sparked in Harriet's mind, faint but promising. The next morning, Harriet shared her plan with William. What if I go downtown and try playing the guitar in a public square? Maybe people will drop some coins, she suggested hesitantly. Harriet, you've never performed in public. What if it's too hard? What if no one listens? William asked, worried for her. What if it's the only way to raise money for your surgery? Harriet replied, resolve clear in her voice. Seeing Harriet's determination, William finally agreed. Then I'll be with you in spirit for every note you play, he said, managing a faint but encouraging smile. Armed with the guitar and a fragile hope, Harriet made her way to the nearest square late that afternoon. She found an empty bench, placed a small container in front of her, and started to play. Her notes, shaky at first, gained confidence as she let herself sink into the music, each melody a silent prayer for a miracle. Some passers-by paused briefly to listen, while others simply tossed coins in the jar. Harriet, despite her nerves, focused on the urgency of saving William. Night fell, and with it came the realization that this was only the beginning of a long, uncertain road. Yet faith and love just might pave a path to hope. Harriet's determination to play guitar in the city square began to yield unexpected results. What started as a desperate act steadily evolved into a powerful display of hope. Each day, she returned to the square more assured, playing the tunes that meant so much to her and William. People began to notice the older woman performing, her skilled fingers dancing along the guitar strings. Many were drawn not merely by her music, but by her resilience and fortitude. On a particularly sunny afternoon, Harriet finished one of her favorite songs, unaware that a small group had gathered around her. Soft applause swept through the square at the end of her performance. A young woman approached, a child in tow, slipping a generous bill into Harriet's jar. "Your songs are beautiful," she said kindly. "They remind me of my grandmother. Please accept this as a thank you for bringing her memory back to me today." Overcome with emotion, Harriet could only nod, at a loss for words. Moments like these deepened her resolve, reminding her of music's power to unite memories and hearts. Day by day, more people recognized Harriet. Some brought folding chairs to sit and watch. Others passed quickly but always dropped a coin or two in the jar. Once, an elderly man approached her after a performance, eyes gleaming with subdued emotion. "You play with your soul," he whispered. "It's been years since I've heard music played with such feeling. My wife loved the guitar. She would have adored your music." Harriet smiled, touched by his words. "I play in honor of my husband," she told him. "He's ill, and I'm here trying to raise money for his treatment. Every note I play is for him." The man nodded, understanding the depth of her devotion, then placed a generous contribution in the jar. "Music heals, my dear. In one way or another, it brings healing. May it bring the healing your husband needs." Gradually, Harriet became a beloved, familiar figure in the square. People came not only for the music, but to show solidarity and support. The jar she'd timidly placed in front of her now overflowed with generosity and hope. Returning home late one evening, Harriet counted the money with an indescribable sense of gratitude. Though it still wasn't enough to cover William's entire surgery, it was a hopeful start. Staring at the starry night sky, she felt an unseen connection with every person who had paused to hear her tunes. "My dear William," she whispered, "our journey has only begun, but we're not alone anymore. Buoyed by a renewed faith, Harriet braced herself for yet another day of playing her guitar in the square, strengthened by the love she shared with William. Meanwhile, in a far-off city, a family celebrated a milestone that held both the realization of a dream and the shadow of a looming tragedy. Michael and Sarah were proud and excited to visit their daughter Emily in her medical school dorm, a major step toward a goal she'd nurtured since childhood. Yet upon arrival, they sensed a vague sadness in Emily's expression. "Are you all right, honey? You seem worried," Sarah asked, noticing Emily's clumsy attempts at unpacking her small dorm room. "I'm fine, Mom. Just tired," Emily replied, forcing a half-smile. Michael tried to lighten the mood. "Well, you've always wanted to be a doctor. You knew it wouldn't be easy, right?" Emily gave a laugh that sounded just a bit more genuine. "Yes, Dad, I knew. And I'm really happy, even if I'm still adjusting to the pace." She chatted about her classes and new friends, but despite her attempts to seem cheerful, her parents sensed deeper troubles. They chose not to push, chalking it up to the stress of college. After a few hours, it was time to say goodbye. Michael and Sarah showered Emily with words of love and encouragement, unaware that this would be the last hug they shared with her for an unbearably long time. "Take care of yourself, honey, and call us whenever you can, all right?" Sarah said tearfully, feeling the weight of parting. "I will, Mom, I promise," Emily replied, returning the embrace. Trying to keep it upbeat, Michael added, "And remember, we're here if you need anything, just call." With one final backward glance, Emily waved, worry tugging at her heart. That night, lying on her dorm bed, she stared at the ceiling, her mind churning with pressures from med school, personal doubts, and a growing unease she couldn't quite name. A month after that visit, Michael and Sarah's world turned upside down with a late-night phone call that tore apart their peace. "Hello," Michael answered, still groggy from sleep. "Mr. Michael? This is the Federal Police. We regret to inform you that your daughter Emily is missing," said the caller, with grim seriousness. Sarah, awakened by the ringing, watched Michael's face go pale, realizing something awful had happened. "What do you mean, missing? What happened?" Michael demanded as fear spiked. "It was during a school trip to a dense forest area. She didn't return with the group. We've begun a search, but there's no sign of her yet," the officer explained. Michael repeated the details to Sarah, who pressed her hands to her mouth in shock. They spent the night in anguished discussions, desperate to figure out how to help. In the days that followed, they did all they could, visiting the university, talking to Emily's classmates, and speaking with Professor Owens, the faculty member in charge of the trip. "I swear I took attendance before leaving the site. Emily was there," Owens said, looking ashen. "But how could she just vanish?" Sarah asked, her frustration and fear plain. "We're all baffled, ma'am. The police are doing everything they can," the professor assured her, trying to be comforting. Refusing to simply wait for news, Michael and Sarah launched their own investigation, hoping to find Emily alive. They hired private detectives, pouring in what little savings they had. Plunged into debt, they remained undeterred. "We'll find her, Sarah. No matter what it takes, we'll bring our girl home," Michael vowed, squeezing Sarah's hands in his. Eyes brimming with tears, she nodded gratefully at his determination. So began a harrowing search, each day an entanglement of anxiety, hope, and dread. While Michael and Sarah battled the agony of an unsolved disappearance, Harriet continued her daily trips to the square, playing guitar to fund William's treatment. Each day felt like a repeat of the one before, except for the renewed hope that accompanied every coin collected. Mornings found Harriet completing her usual routine, carefully picking up the old guitar and heading out. William, weaker than ever, would watch her go, heavy-hearted but grateful. "Going to the square again, Harriet?" he asked one morning, noticing her tremor as she tuned the guitar. "Yes, my love. Each time I go, it's one day closer to paying for your surgery," Harriet replied, forcing a tired smile. Though frail, William radiated gratitude. "You're my light, Harriet. I don't know what I'd do without you." She simply squeezed his hand, sharing her silent pledge of love. As days passed, Harriet solidified her status as a fixture in that square, her music an emblem of human grit in the face of adversity. On one fateful night, she and William would confront a test of faith and humanity that would surpass their personal struggles. Returning home after another day's effort at the square, Harriet found William resting, his health worn thin by the illness. The comforting hush of the small house broke suddenly at frantic knocks on the door. Surprised, Harriet answered to see a battered, exhausted young woman hardly able to stand. "Please, help me," the girl gasped before collapsing into Harriet's arms. William, alarmed by the commotion, forced himself up to see what was happening. "Who is she? What's going on?" he asked, aiding Harriet as she carried the girl inside. I'm not sure. But we can't just leave her like this. We have to call for help," Harriet said, voice trembling. They tried calling emergency services but couldn't get through. Lines were overloaded because it was a holiday. William, despite his frailty, looked at Harriet with renewed conviction. "Then we'll do it ourselves. We can use the money you raised to get her to a private hospital." Harriet hesitated, eyes flicking to the jar of money that represented William's chance at survival. "But what about you, and your surgery?" "Look at her," he replied softly. "She needs help now. Our struggle doesn't matter if we lose our humanity." Moved by William's compassion, Harriet agreed. Together, they placed the girl in their old car and drove to the nearest hospital, hearts pounding with hope and fear. The young woman's condition was dire. "Please, she's very weak. Help us," Harriet begged the hospital staff as William supported the limp figure in his arms. The medical team rushed the girl into the emergency room. Harriet and William, now waiting alone, were weighed down by uncertainty. "Did we do the right thing?" Harriet murmured, needing reassurance. "Yes, my dear," William answered. "Moments like these call on us to do what's right, no matter the cost. I've had a good, happy life with you. This girl's life is just beginning. If my time comes, it's God's will." In that moment, their choice to help a stranger, at the expense of William's own well-being, redefined the meaning of sacrifice and love. They faced the unknown together, carried by a steadfast belief that compassion is the greatest cure of all. Waiting for news in the private hospital felt endless. Every minute stretched like an eternity while Harriet and William prayed silently. At last, after hours that seemed like days, a doctor approached, relief evident in his serious but calmer expression. "She's stable now." It was close. "If you hadn't brought her in when you did, I don't know if she'd be here now." Harriet, swamped by concern and exhaustion, asked, "Will she recover?" "What happened to her?" "She'll recover. She had serious injuries and was dehydrated, but it looks like a case of assault. She's unconscious, so we don't have more details yet. Once she wakes up, we can learn more," the doctor explained with a reassuring smile. William, already battling illness, spoke up. "We used all the money my wife raised from playing in the square. It was for my surgery," he admitted, voice trembling with fatigue and emotion. Taking in the gravity of their situation, the doctor responded gently. "What you did was incredible. We'll make sure she gets the help she needs, and we'll see what we can do for you two as well." Then he excused himself to return to his duties. Left alone, Harriet and William faced the reality of their selfless act. All the money meant for William's health was now going towards saving a stranger. "William, do you think it was worth giving up our only chance?" Harriet asked, haunted by doubt. He took her hand, gaze steady with love. "My dearest Harriet, this young woman's life was about to fade. We gave her another chance, just like you've given me hope all these years. That's worth more than money. I'd suffer through 1,000 pains if it meant saving an innocent life." Tears sprang to Harriet's eyes. She embraced him. "You've always known what truly matters. I love you for that," she murmured, finding solace in his unwavering conviction. That night in the hospital was long, but it illuminated new depths of altruism and devotion. Harriet and William, despite their own hardship, had chosen to help someone in dire need, confirming their faith in humankind and the profound power of compassion. They would always recall this night, not as the moment they lost everything, but as the night their love and sacrifice shone brightest, lighting up the darkness with a promise of better tomorrows. In the days after, Harriet and William frequently visited the young woman in the hospital. It wasn't just about concern anymore. Some inexplicable bond was forming between them and the stranger they had rescued. Each visit brought warmth and hope, as they stood watch by her side like silent guardians. Eventually, the day came when the girl opened her eyes, returning at last from whatever darkness had swallowed her. Harriet was at her bedside, holding her hand gently. Confusion clouded the young woman's gaze, scanning the room until it settled on Harriet. Where am I?" she whispered. "You're in the hospital, dear. You were hurt, but you're safe now," Harriet replied softly, giving her hand a reassuring squeeze. Who are you?" the girl asked, mind still blurry. "My name is Harriet, and this is my husband, William. We found you and brought you here," Harriet explained, gesturing toward William, who offered a kind smile from the other side of the room. The young woman tried to sit, fighting the weakness in her body. I don't know how to thank you. I can't remember much. Just pain." "There's no need to thank us, sweetheart," William said, his voice full of sincerity. "We only want you to get better." As she recovered, she began revealing fragments of her story. Her name was Emily, and she had endured a traumatic ordeal that left her lost and injured, until fate led her to Harriet and William's doorstep. I was on a college field trip. Something terrible happened, and I ended up here, thanks to you," Emily murmured, her memories still hazy. Harriet and William listened attentively, offering comfort, their presence a constant source of reassurance. An act of compassion had blossomed into an unexpected connection, weaving threads of care and affection between them. "You're part of our family now, Emily," Harriet told her one day, clasping the girl's hands gently. "We'll take care of you until you're ready to move on." Emily looked at Harriet and William with a blend of gratitude and admiration. "I never knew people like you existed. Thank you for saving me, not just physically, but from losing faith in human kindness," she said, tears forming in her eyes. Helping Emily gave Harriet and William a renewed sense of purpose. Though they had saved her in many ways, Emily saved them too, bringing fresh light into their lives. As she grew stronger, the truth behind her disappearance began to emerge, an unimaginable story that unraveled piece by piece. Seated beside her hospital bed, Harriet and William listened intently as Emily recounted her nightmare. "It happened during that field trip," Emily began haltingly. "We were studying a wooded area for a project, but something went very wrong." Harriet gently squeezed Emily's hand, urging her on. "One of the professors, Professor Owens, he attacked me," Emily whispered, voice shaking at the recollection. "He pushed me down a ravine, hoping no one would find me. He'd made advances before, and I always refused, which infuriated him. During the trip he asked me out, I said no, and he just lost control and shoved me." Despite his own failing health, William spoke with firm resolve. "That man can't get away with this, Emily. We'll help you report him." She nodded, taking strength from Harriet and William's reassurance. "I was lost, injured, and I didn't think anyone would find me. Then I saw your house. It's a miracle you made it to us," Harriet said with tearful eyes. "But now we'll do whatever it takes to ensure justice is served." Together, they contacted the authorities and relayed Emily's testimony. The police acted swiftly, detaining Professor Owens for questioning. Her statements, coupled with the subsequent investigation, confirmed the accusations, leading to Owens's arrest. Meanwhile, the story of Harriet and William's heroism, and Emily's bravery, spread throughout the community, shedding light on the transformative power of empathy, courage, and communal action. One afternoon, as Harriet and William visited Emily in the hospital, an unexpected surprise awaited them. Emily's parents, Michael and Sarah, arrived in a rush to see the daughter they feared they had lost forever. The reunion was emotional. Tears, embraces, and relief swirling together. "We can't begin to thank you for what you did for our daughter," Sarah said, turning to Harriet and William in gratitude. "She told us how you saved her," Michael added. "We'll make sure your kindness isn't forgotten." Aware of the financial sacrifice Harriet and William had made for Emily's sake, Michael and Sarah insisted on covering William's medical bills and providing ongoing support. "We only did what we felt was right," William said humbly. "And now," Harriet added with a gentle smile, "it seems our family has just grown a bit bigger." The hospital atmosphere felt both hopeful and tense. Harriet and William had spent so much time there, mostly for Emily's recovery, but now the focus shifted sharply onto William. His health, already ravaged from waiting so long for surgery, was in critical need of urgent care. After paying for Emily's treatment with funds Harriet had raised by playing guitar, the couple had no resources left for William. At that critical moment, as they discussed Emily's future care with Michael and Sarah, William turned pale and wobbly. "Harriet," he called weakly, reaching for her hand as dizziness overtook him. Seeing him go ashen, Harriet rushed to his side. "William, what's happening?" Before he could answer, he collapsed under the weight of his illness and accumulated exhaustion. Alarmed, Harriet, Michael, and Sarah yelled for help. Quick action saved William's life for the moment, but doctors deemed his condition grave. Recognizing the enormous sacrifice Harriet and William had made for Emily, Michael and Sarah refused to let finances stand in the way of William's care. "Don't worry, Harriet. We'll handle everything," Sarah promised, her tone filled with determination and gratitude. As William was prepped for admission, Harriet stayed by his side, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Please, William, hold on. You have to fight," she whispered, more to herself than to him. Regaining consciousness just briefly, William caught Harriet's gaze with all the love of a lifetime. "My dearest Harriet," he murmured, "I was so happy with you. Remember, this isn't goodbye. Just see you later. I love you." Those were his final words. With one soft breath, William, who had lived a life defined by simplicity, goodness, and boundless generosity, was gone, leaving behind a legacy of kindness and a wife who had stood faithfully by his side every step of the way. Heartbroken, Harriet found solace in the arms of Michael, Sarah, and Emily, who had become her family not only through shared hardship, but by forging an even deeper connection of love and care. William departed this life, but left an immeasurable impact on those fortunate enough to have crossed his path. A reminder that life's greatest riches lie in the moments we share and the love we give and receive. A year passed since William's tragic death, and Harriet's life had changed in ways she never imagined. She now lived with Michael, Sarah, and Emily, who treated her as family. Emily, fully recovered and strengthened by the experiences they had all endured, was excelling in her medical studies, motivated by the love and sacrifice Harriet and William had shown her. One peaceful afternoon, Harriet was teaching Emily a few tunes on William's old guitar when Sarah came in carrying a tray of tea and cookies. "How's the lesson going?" Sarah asked with a warm smile, setting the tray on the coffee table. Emily glanced at Harriet with admiration. "I'm learning so much. Harriet's an amazing teacher." Gently strumming a chord, Harriet returned Emily's smile. Her heart was full of love for the young woman she now considered a granddaughter. "She's a quick learner," Harriet said, wistfulness in her voice. William would have been so proud. That evening, Michael revealed a special plan. They gathered at sunset in the backyard, where Michael and Sarah had organized a small ceremony to honor William's memory. Photos of him were displayed alongside lit candles and fresh flowers. There was sorrow but also joy in celebrating his life and the legacy of love he left behind. "William always had a huge heart, ready to care for anyone," Sarah began, tears of longing mingling with fond smiles at cherished memories. Harriet, overcome by emotion, spoke in turn. "He was more than my husband. He was my soulmate. He taught me what real love and compassion mean. And I see that same love in all of you." As the ceremony continued, Emily played one of William's favorite songs on the guitar, the melody tender and bittersweet, resonating through the dusky sky. In the following days, Harriet found comfort in her new family and in the music she passed on to Emily. Then, on a quiet morning, Harriet simply never woke up. She passed away peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by those who loved her. After Harriet's funeral, Emily, gently plucking the guitar, drifted off to sleep and dreamed of Harriet and William. In her dream, they stood together in a field of flowers, smiling and content, Harriet strumming the guitar for William. It was a vision of eternal peace and love, symbolizing the bond that transcends earthly life. That dream consoled Emily, reminding her that although Harriet and William were gone physically, the love they shared would forever live on in her heart.